why not stay, at least for today? 'Cause you'll come crying to me like you
Greetings and welcome back. Welcome back to Candle Adult Bedtime Stories, Season 1, Episode 3, Doctor's Orders. And this is by Astrid Kip. Tonight's candle is Cinnamon Bun. I don't know, so many people do not enjoy the soft, sweet aroma of cinnamon. And tonight's sip can be anything with a touch of cinnamon. I've decided on a cinnamon latte, a frothy latte, topped with vegan cream and a dusting of cinnamon. Tonight's story, part 1 of Doctor's Orders, featuring Josh and Danny. Danny spelled D as in David, A, N as in Nancy, I. Just for clarification. Again, due to the nature of these stories, I will be ad-libbing some of the language and in my way of being responsible for those listening. So without further delay, part 1 of Doctor's Orders. The door to Josh's apartment swung open, and he and Danny stumbled inside, unwilling to stop their affection, touching, pulling at each other's clothing, not even for 1 second. Josh kicked the door shut behind them and secured his hands around Danny's waist as he teased her with his lips. They were both scantily clad. Danny had never felt so needy in her entire life. Bedroom, Josh whispered, his teeth nibbling her earlobe. Danny dropped her purse, distantly aware of the contents spilling across the hardwood. She didn't care. Please, was her response. Danny squeaked softly as he lifted her. He carried Danny into his bedroom and softly dropped her on his bed before covering her body with his own. Their lips met again, hands exploring one another, and what was once scantily clad was no more. If Danny had known how good this was going to be, she wouldn't have minded how bad the beginning of her day had been. Danny had never felt so out of her element. The last time she attended a child's birthday, they had served cheap pizza, 2-liter sodas, and a generic chocolate cake that had been purchased at the corner grocery store. It was a party for a 5-year-old, and Danny had felt like Dorothy after being dropped off into Oz, and the reference, she meant the Wizard of Oz. Champagne was passed around on little trays. A bar was available, and 100 guests were nibbling at finger foods that were half as filling as cheap pizza at 10 times the cost. The birthday party was for Chip, the grandson of Charles Bancroft III. It wasn't much of a celebration for 5 years of life, as it was a meet and greet for Boston's elite. From the flagstone patio behind the house, where the party was in full swing, it was only a couple of yards to the canal where sailboats and yachts were docked behind each mansion. The vibe couldn't have been farther from childlike. While there were kids running around and enjoying balloon animals and a bounce house, ladies in tiny dresses showing off a little bit of skin as possible were on the arms of men in linen shirts. Was this what it was like to be in the top 1%? Danny wondered. As Danny refilled the French platter, which her catering boss had taught her was not pronounced charcuterie, she heard shouts coming across the patio. Through the crowd, she saw Chip grabbing at his throat, his face shifting from a healthy pink to an angry shade of red. An older man grabbed Chip in the middle and began using the Heimlich maneuver. "Let's play," a woman in pearls cried as the crowd gathered in alarm. Clay was Chip's father and a renowned surgeon. He'd know how to help his son, but it didn't look like he was nearby, and Chip's face was shifting from red to purple. Quickly assessing the situation, Danny dropped her platter on the table, grabbed the sharpest, smallest knife she could find, and a couple hundred of linen napkins. She dashed towards the boy, stopping along the way to grab a bottle of vodka and a plastic straw from the bar. She had reached Chip in seconds. "Lay him down." The man followed her decisive instructions without question. As Chip laid on the flagstones, he scratched at his throat with his little legs kicked in panic. Jenny knelt over his thighs to keep his legs pinned. "Hold his arms," she set the tone. The linen napkins on the ground and laid the tools on top of it. The man pinned the little boy's arms down, and Danny poured vodka over the base of the throat of the knife, then wiped it away with another clean napkin. She counted 2 finger widths up from his collarbone and pressed the tip into the skin in the center of her neck. "What are you doing?" someone shouted. Another partygoer grabbed her arm. "She's just a caterer. She's going to be the cause of his demise. Someone stop her." She wrenched her arm back and yelled, "I'm saving his life." She pressed in again, making an incision. Chip's face was purple and bloated. Carefully, taking much precaution, she was able to provide an opening as air escaped. She held a strong place, watching as Chip's face began to relax, and the color of his skin and lips shifting away from that horrifying shade of blue. He was going to be okay. People were still yelling at her, and Danny stated he was choking. Chip was breathing fine, and his color had returned to normal. Danny asserted again, "I saved his life." Clay wasn't satisfied with that answer, and Danny's face reddened as he screamed at her, threatening to call the police to sue her. She rushed to the exit and almost collided with Charles Minkoff III, who had seen everything. "Call an ambulance," she said, as she brushed past him. It wasn't her first of the night, and it wouldn't be her last. The Heimlich maneuver wasn't working, Danny had explained. And she added, "It was purple by the time I stepped in. There wasn't time to do anything else." She grabbed a beer bottle, which again wasn't the first and certainly would not have been the last. She had gotten such a rush, finally being able to put her skills to use, saving Chip's life. Circumstances hadn't changed. She still worked for a catering company, not a hospital. What would it take for that to change? Danny took a moment to relax, and as she sat there with her bottle of beer, she heard the words, "The seat taken." Danny glanced up from her beer and froze. An extremely handsome man was standing beside her, a smile on his face. He looked to be in his late 20s, and he wore a simple button-down, better than anyone she had ever met. Her mouth went dry. The man's lips twitched, and Danny shook herself out of her handsomeness-induced aphasia. "Nope, sit," she said to the handsome man. He sat and held out his hand. I'm Josh. She took it, her skin tingling at the contact. Danny. Bad day? Josh asked. How do you figure? Nobody thinks alone when they're happy, especially not beautiful women. Danny blushed to the roots of her dark hair. So, how bad was it? Josh asked. She toyed with the bottle cap. She wasn't the type to open up to strangers in bars, but between the beer and the warm smile on Josh's face, she felt bold enough to share. Do you ever feel like you can't win, no matter how hard you try to prove yourself, you still end up flat on your face? The stranger tilted his head, considering her. Do you think you've proven yourself? It doesn't matter what I think. I'm not the one making the decisions at the end of the day. But you're the one that has to live those decisions. There'll always be people who think they know better, and usually it's their own insecurities. He caught her wrist, drawing comforting circles against her pulse point. Somehow, a simple touch made her heart race. Maybe try believing in yourself. That's the only thing you have control of. Danny licked her lips and just gazed glued to her mouth. You're pretty smart for a guy at a bar. Josh leaned in, brushing her dark hair from her shoulder. Maybe I don't have to be just a guy you met at a bar. Who do you want to be? The look in his eyes was pure sin. Responded, the guy who takes you home. Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of Doctor's Orders. Please keep your notification bells on for part 2. And thank you for joining Candles Adult Bedtime Stories, Season 1, Episode 3, Part 1 of Doctor's Orders.